What's going on, guys? So today I'm going to talk about a topic that I see discussed a lot on various jiu-jitsu forums, and basically it's a topic of training through an injury versus training around an injury. So I'll give you guys a few guidelines that I think are pretty important and what I suggest you should do. So let's talk about the definitions. My definition of training through an injury is basically maybe you have an injured elbow and you're still using that arm or that elbow in training. You're kind of not allowing it to rest. You may be re-irritating it or kind of causing some soreness. The other side of it is training around an injury. So for example, you have that same injured elbow or injured arm and you aren't using that arm in training. You maybe put it into your belt in your jiu-jitsu gi. You're maybe doing positional drilling or positional rolling that doesn't force you to use that arm. So that would be an example of that. So advantages and disadvantages. I guess the advantage of training through an injury is you're still getting the training in. You're still on the mats, but you're not at your best self. You're not able to use your extremity or your injured arm the way that you probably should. So that may lead to compensation. They may lead to a worsening or re-aggravation of that injury, or even you injuring something else because you're compensating for that injured area. On the other side, you're looking at training around an injury. So you have that same injured elbow, you're maybe not using that arm in training, you're doing maybe just positional work, or you're grappling from just a pass and defend type perspective where there's not a lot of variables for you to get in scrambles, things like that. And the advantage of that, for me actually personally, was I had an injured arm where I fractured my radius bone. So this arm here, I fractured it, and I took the time to rest. And it was quite a long recovery. It was probably like 3 months or so. But when I got back, I still wasn't quite as sure of my arm. I still wasn't all the way comfortable with using it. So I did a lot of training with my arm in my gi belt and working a lot on other areas of my game. And what I noticed, honestly, when I trained around that injury was I had to figure out ways that I didn't rely on that arm, the submissions that I could get with just one arm. So I ended up playing a lot of close guard. I would work on my triangle chokes, which is something I could hit with one arm. And also my guard retention really improved because I couldn't really use my arms as well to, move myself and position myself. So my leg dexterity and my guard retention got so much better during that time because that's what I really focused on. So again, guys, so really training through an injury is not the best idea because, again, you're kind of slowing down the healing process. You could get yourself re-injured worse. And then you're just kind of hurting yourself. You're not getting that training that you should get, and you may just be prolonging the process in the long term. And then training around an injury, if you're safely able to, you protect that side, and you maybe just do positional rolling or just drilling, being smart about your training. And if something hurts, you just don't do it. I really don't see in jiu-jitsu, it's such a physical sport that there's really, you have to really be mindful of how you're training. And if you come in kind of wounded and you don't tell people, or you want to go 100%, then they're going to go 100% back to you, and you can end up really getting injured worse. So I understand there's always extraneous circumstances, or there's always other circumstances where it may be indicated, if you have a huge tournament you've been preparing for a very long time, and you've just put all this time and this effort in, and the chances of you being there and doing well are high. You may bite the bullet and do it. Yeah, there's some extraneous circumstances, but overall, for most of us that are kind of casual grapplers or aren't doing this on a professional level, you want to think long term. You want to think longevity wise, and usually just taking the time off in the front end is going to pay dividends, and training around that injury is going to pay dividends long term. So in my opinion, guys, train around your injuries for the best you can. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll see you next time.